you know, Team Elon and Larry,
Yes.
and then they're going up against Microsoft, OpenAI,
Right.
and whoever else is on that team.
Right.
And then you have Meta,
Yeah.
Facebook, with all their companies and stuff like that, right? And
Yep.
they're stacking their stuff up. And they have Amazon
Mhm.
with all their stuff. They're building one of the largest large language models. So any organization, you're looking allies wherever you can, because this is a massive arms race.
Oh, today I'm bringing Brian Wang to help me out because I want to take a real deep look at what is XAI doing? I know, not Tesla. Okay, what is Tesla doing? What is XAI doing? How is it all going to be differentiated in terms of building the biggest supercomputers the world has ever seen? Because Elon says that's what you have to do if you want to compete in the 21st century as we continue to unroll it. Brian,
Yes.
how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
So I
Sorry
think
about that.
I think you know a little bit about computer science, right? I mean, you spent a little time in the
Mhm.
computer science world looking at some of
Mhm.
these big subjects.
Right, right. So, but it's more about being up to date on what's the current things happening with AI. Because clearly, the stuff I learned in my degree is the theory stuff, which stayed the same. What's actually happened has gone very different. Particularly the last 18 months since ChatGPT and with AI, all of the old rules, Moore's law, all that kind of stuff is not what applies currently. So in terms of the question of XAI and X, so the announcement was that XAI has raised $6 billion, I think an evaluation of $18 billion.
No,
Uh,
that was the going in valuation. After the raise, the company is now valued at 24 billion.
okay, yeah, post-money valuation, right. So now $24 billion, but $6 billion of cash. Most of that is going towards the supercomputer. So the announcement that I saw was that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that by 2025, they will make a supercomputer which is 4 times larger than the current largest GPU cluster.
Right.
So um, unfortunately, the information and details around what the largest GPU cluster is currently is not confirmed. It's somewhat secret stuff.
Okay.
Because but we know that who probably has it is Meta or Microsoft owns OpenAI, and they have that stuff. And it seems that it's about 100,000 NVIDIA H100s.
Okay.
So the NVIDIA H100 and the H200 are the latest chips from NVIDIA.
Right.
They have announced a B200 chip, which they have shown and probably are making some, but you have not built a cluster out of those yet because they have not built 100,000 of them and have not done stuff with it. So the B200 uses less power and is 4 times more powerful, right? But does not exist yet for any GPU cluster. So the current largest GPU cluster is probably 100,000 H100s.
Mhm.
Several reasons for this is that there's only about 2 million H100s that are built every year. That's the rough production rate of NVIDIA. So then they switch between which chips they make, because TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor, makes those chips.
Right.
So you can switch over to the new chips. So the existing chips, the one that largest CPU cluster, 100,000, it's also about the level where you break the grid.
Oh,
Because when you try and put 100,000 chips together, sucking 400, 700 watts, right? You're using about, all added up, maybe 100 megawatts. And then that starts to be a problem for the electrical grid that we have. Even though you have like nuclear power plants producing about a gigawatt, hydro dams, the biggest one, Three Gorges Dam, producing 20 gigawatts, and coal plants roughly at about 300 to 500 megawatts. But the problem is that you send the grid thing, to something called distribution transformers or step down or step up transformers.
right.
Stepping up is stepping down the voltage, because you got, all this power coming out. You cannot plug into a power plant.
Right.
Just like, think of it like, one of those cartoon things, you plug in that boom and you're all black or whatever like that. It doesn't work. You have
Right.
to adjust the power. Anyway, so largest one is probably 100,000 H100s. And then they said they would make one 4 times more powerful. That kind of is the B200, the B200 chip. Doesn't exist yet, but by 2025, when you're done your new thing, you'd have 100,000 B200s.
And you'll be
It'd be
4 times.
like,
Yeah.
and before more powerful, right? So that seems to all make sense. They would make a supercomputer with 100,000 B200s, which would be 4 times bigger, more powerful than what we have today. Some caveat around that is they previously said that they would scale up to 100 exaflops, and back 2 years ago, and said by October this year they would get to 100 exaflops.
And that would be Tesla.
That Tesla said they would do that, right? And then that would be fifth largest or some level of a AI cluster for that. The 10 top leading companies all have more, maybe more, maybe like 20, have more than 100 exaflops. 100 exaflops is equal to about, I think, 20,000, 30,000, 25,000 H100. Each H100 is about 4 petaflops. So if you just like do a crude math multiply, and then that's 25,000, right? So the 100,000 H100s is 400 exaflops already. So the issue is, like, when we say bigger than whatever, everyone's in a big race. Everyone's making huge supercomputers. So it's like in 2025, pretty much all the top players will have a 100,000 B200 supercomputer
Version. Yeah, a variation. Okay, so then Tesla, of course, famously, I think already has also 85,000. Is that
so they said at the end of the
end of this year?
Q1 and the Q1 thing, which was like it happened in April, their earnings call said at the end of March they had like 35,000
Right.
H100s, and they said by the end of the year they would have
80.
85,000 or more,
So,
right? Good.
and that would be in addition to their expectation that they'll have 100 exaflops, teraflop, I forget which flops, of Dojo. So they have Dojo on the one hand, and then they've got the NVIDIA system on the other hand.
Right. They have their Dojo, which is their own chips, which
Right.
they announced at AI Day a couple of years ago. And then they also have NVIDIA chips. But NVIDIA chips are clearly superior, it seems, because they're like getting better in leaps and bounds. But the Dojo would also be getting better in leaps and bounds. But we don't know the breakdown between the Dojo and the NVIDIA chips. Although we do know that they're building a $500 million, $500 million Dojo facility in New York. They made a groundbreaking. They made an announcement about that. So, assuming comparable levels of power and stuff like that, you would think that would be roughly the equivalent of a 10,000 H100 place.
I see. Okay. All right. So, all right. So just for fun, let's think about it in terms of Tesla will have amazing amounts of compute by the end of this year, and will undoubtedly buy additional compute in 2025.
Yeah.
XAI will buy this, probably claiming 400, 4 times as much as whoever's the biggest now in 2025. Right. And Tesla will be somewhere in that range. Maybe it'll be 2 times as great as anybody else. Maybe it'd be 3. Mm-hmm. Is this all about, hey, look at my V8, and this guy, look at my, Super 8, and hey, I got a V12, and I mean, is this a bunch of male ego talking, or is there significant benefits to having 300 versus 200, or 1,000 versus 800, of this compute power?
The power and quality of your AI scales with the training. The research papers talk about, like how this translates, this much power, this much performance. So it's a pretty clear, like, if I have this much compute
I
one
get it.
times, I get this. I get one over here. If I get 10 times, I get more over here. Um, it's pretty much whoever has the most compute wins. It's like
But wins what?
Meg.
Okay, come back then for me. So
Mhm,
wins what? Okay, if I've got 110, 1100 horsepower in my under my hood and the same weight car, and you've only
mhm.
got 900 horsepower in the same weight car, and our transmissions and torque and everything are fairly consistent, my 1100 is going to win the race. It doesn't
Right.
necessarily mean, though, that it wins in terms of daily use. It doesn't mean
Mhm.
wins in terms of safety. So, what do we win if we get there? Don't you have to have like last year we didn't have enough compute to
Mhm.
handle FSD. Now we do, and
Mhm.
excess and above. Don't we have to have something to compute in order to justify having another 100, or 1,000 or whatever units?
Right. Right. So you're taking the compute and then you're applying it to data.
Right.
Right. So when we make these large language models, the ChatGPT, the Grok, they're all taking pretty much all the data that's electronically available on the internet, right? They're taking it all, right? So the reason you end up with roughly the same result is they're all going at the same data, right? Um, so OpenAI and Microsoft do it, they grab the internet. The internet being roughly 40 trillion tokens. So it's a measure of how much data there is,
Right.
right? So grabbing the entire internet, 40 trillion tokens, right? So because they're starting from the same point, and there's a research paper that says this, if you start with the same data, whatever you do to it, training AI wise, you end up with roughly the same result. So then it's like, how well did I process it? Again, the more processing, then the better it is. So the way to differentiate, you could differentiate if you had different data,
Data.
right? So if I had like real world video data and I had real world audio data, so what we say and what we speak,
Mhm.
then I could then have a new result, right? Because they could then learn from us. It could, in the Tesla FSD, where they're mimicking the best drivers.
Yes.
It wasn't just saying, okay, how do I turn here or there? It's like specifically these guys. These guys are great. I'm copying them, right? So if I was taking AI and start saying, okay, instead of just crunching the internet and then it basically crunched Wikipedia, crunched whatever, and I'm getting these answers back, right? All the books, then um, if I say, no, I have a live version of Albert Einstein, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Elon, I start copying those people, then you can start getting some different results based on, okay, I have less compute training than you, but my data is better. So now I can win. But we have not gotten sufficient differences in the starting data. You can imagine Google has access to YouTube. They can say, okay, you guys can't steal
That's
our
right.
YouTube stuff, just like this. And then we can start using that data properly. So there could be some differences in the data, but we have not um, gotten to a level where one particular group has clearly superior data that gives better results. You have some that has a bit more,
Right.
but we have not seen Google Gemini be better, right?
Right.
So whatever data they're doing with YouTube, Google search, whatever they're doing there, have not made a difference because we now know that OpenAI is still in the lead. Microsoft OpenAI is still in the lead,
Right.
right? So because we're looking at um, huge amounts of data, everything on the internet, all this compute, which is like the XAI thing will be like 1,600 exaflops, right? So you don't have to know it's a number. It's just it's a huge number, and more is better, and it's getting better at roughly 4 to 10 times every year, maybe less,
Mhm.
right? So they're trying to speed up to get to a lot more of this compute, but it's like now it's like we're taking like all of internet data, adding on to that to get even more data. How do you do that? It's like everything on the internet. How do you have to record video, record audio. You have to, like for Tesla, having 5 million cars recording driving data, 10 million cars recording driving data,
Yeah.
more cars. Yeah. So the amount of data that we're talking about is everything on the internet and then 10 times more, 100 times more, insane amounts of that. So, but to differentiate XAI, OpenAI, Meta on that level, it's you would not think that some group would figure out how to get 100 times more data than the other guys,
Yeah.
right? If you're doing it, you're all spending the money.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're crunching 10 times the internet. It's not like, oh, they do that in secret,
Yes.
some little
Yes.
Manhattan
Yes.
project. It's like, no, it's like, wow, you're doing all that. It's like, I can see you from over here. I can have a satellite heat imaging, seeing what you're doing with your data center. It's like, you're doing, you're not building the Great Wall in secret, right? It's like,
Okay.
it's over there.
So
Yeah.
let me back up again then, because
Yeah.
it's blowing my mind. It's breaking my brain.
Okay.
Is there a point at which the amount of compute is going to be all you need? I mean, it's just like more compute. Yes, it might be used for some esoteric kind of answer you want. Like, is there any additional alien life in the universe? But it wouldn't be useful, let's say, to create AGI or AI. Is there a level at which the top 7, 10 guys will have enough?
I would say no.
Never. Okay.
Is there a limit to intelligence? No, there is not.
Okay.
Right. So it's a question of, when do we start figuring out something entirely different
Right.
where I'm no longer doing it based on I'm dialing it up to 11, I'm dialing it up to 11 million, and then I'm getting more stuff. Like you have to change from large language models to something else, or large language models so different
Yeah.
that it's like, a million billion times, it doesn't matter anymore, right? So they're researching that. The lead AI guy from Meta, Jan LeCun, is saying, yeah, large language models, we're going to crank it up. It's a solved thing. The big guys are playing it. They're just dumping more and more at it, right? But then I'm working on something completely different, right? And that's why he says we should work on something completely different in order to get a leapfrog ahead, right? So, but for the big companies, it's like, while this curve of more power, more data stuff keeps going up, I have to keep dumping more money on it. It's like Google search, right? More search, more power, I get a better search. They win search, and that's worth, $80 billion or whatever, $100 billion. If they stop slowing down, and they use that to kill Bing and Yahoo and everything else, right? All the other guys who are second, third place.
Right.
That's what they're thinking for AI. It's like, I got to keep doubling down my bets, 10 times my bets, because if I slow down, I stop. The other guys go ahead, and first prize, in Glengarry Glen Ross, first prize is the Cadillac. Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired, right? So that's their all-in bet on this thing, and it looks like it'll continue for several years. At some point, it will stop,
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe.
In terms of the models of the algorithms and stuff, or something new comes along.
Yeah.
But until that happens, they are on a treadmill that cannot stop.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now Elon famously last week, I was surprised it didn't break the internet when he said this, but it got normal headlines. He says by next year we'll have AGI. What
Right.
does that mean to you?
So the problem is artificial general intelligence
Oh yeah,
is
define it.
when you have AI, artificial intelligence, um, smarter than humans.
Right.
So there's different definitions of that. It can mean smarter than all humans, smarter than the smartest human. So the problem when you say that is you don't know specifically what that means. But by next year, that would mean that the current stuff is clearly not AGI. Because if AGI here, can do a test as good as a lawyer, as good as a doctor.
Yeah.
So it's not that. Sam Altman talked about it being AGI when it's world changing.
Mhm.
So as amazing as the AI is now,
Mhm.
he said economics didn't change.
Right.
Other things didn't change. So that's part of what the Sam Altmans, the Elon, they're talking about,
Yeah.
that
Right now.
economics changing. Yeah.
So right now, I think Sam Altman put it this way: is that we basically just have better. The tools we already have are just better.
Right.
Right. And so
Right.
he's saying, okay, when does the tool change? So
Mm-hmm.
instead of making a better chat assistant,
Mm-hmm.
we make something that's different than a chat assistant. It's no longer, it gets the same result, but it's not a chat assistant. It's something beyond a chat assistant.
Right. Right. So clearly what Elon and Sam and many of those guys are talking about is more amazing than it just got 10 times faster. It's pretty darn good. It means something that is way shocking, right? That we expect major breakthrough because you're not gonna say, okay, I dump out a GPT-5, I dump out a GPT-6. It's better than GPT-4. It can make Microsoft Copilot, which is already in all the software, is better, right? So it's just everything that you can already expect and envision and saying, okay, now it works better. No mistakes, no hallucinations, some other stuff is better,
Mhm.
right? Um, but it's not that kind of shocking, whoa, that is so pretty much he's saying there should be a whoa moment or many whoa moments leading up to something next year that he's going to define as AGI,
So,
right?
and some of those expected are the things that we've talked about for years have been things like I can't tell it's a computer. No matter what I ask it, I can't tell what they call the
The Turing test.
Turing test, yes. And then the other one would be that it actually invents something.
Right.
And I have, as someone who has patents and has many, many inventions under my belt, I always differentiate between what I call what would you call it? The next best way of making something. Like, you make a slight difference in the way that the curve of the hood is on a car, and you get an improvement in terms of the way that the air flows over it. And that is inventive only because nobody's ever thought to put that extra curve or that extra hump or that extra blade or whatever it is. Nobody's thought that before, anything like that before. So that's invention, as opposed to what you might be calling the aha invention, which is which is kind of out of the blue. It's kind of we haven't even thought of the car before, and
Right.
somebody says, oh, you know what we should do? We should put four wheels on this large steel thing and drive
Mhm.
it down the road at 80 miles an hour.
Right.
So in that level, now, do you expect the first level of invention is maybe good enough to call it AGI, or do we need the out of the blue kind of invention?
So I think the issue is that right now we went from the ChatGPT moment. We went from stuff that was clearly crap
Right.
relative to people,
Yes.
right? It was like it was doing 30% on some tests, 10% on some SATs. It was like it clearly figured out. It's just like in the chess thing,
Yeah.
where leading up to 1997, the chess game were still not beating most people. Then it started beating a international champion, then starts being whatever, then starts being a grandmaster, and then finally beats Kasparov, and that's better than all humans,
Right.
right? So if we're in the phase of the AI, like ChatGPT, is not clearly better
Mhm.
than the best physicists, the best mathematicians, best other stuff. It's now decent where it's better than any high school student. It's into the college ranks or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But then when you now I'm beyond um, Hawking and Einstein and whatever, right? And I'm beyond that in physics, math, everything, right? Then it's kind of like my frame of reference was people. My frame of reference was the dumbest person to the smartest person in these fields.
Right.
And I put that measurement thing against the AI and say, well, we're still here. We're still in the zone,
Right.
right? When we break the zone and it goes like beyond human in physics, which means that you'd also have to have discovery.
Right.
Like, because
Okay, so that becomes that. So that again might be what I'm trying to drive at. I like the way you put it, though. So another way to put it might be right now, ChatGPT theoretically is diagnosing certain conditions 97% of the time or 95% of the time better than doctors or as well as doctors or whatever, something I forget the exact thing. At the point that ChatGPT is diagnosing at 101% better than doctors, that would be very, very, very cool. But it wouldn't be the same thing as looking at the chart and looking at the analysis that's going on and saying, you know what if we applied protein to that? And we've never tried that before.
Right. So something completely groundbreaking starts tossing those stuff in.
Right.
Right. So it's basically like doing, like I think that's something that some of the other guys like the DeepMind guy, Debbie Hassabis has said that when it starts doing Nobel Prize winning stuff,
Yes.
every 6 months, every 3 months, every month, every week, every day, right? That, starts to be the measure. It's not like it, can answer this problem that we can answer, but it's hard for us, and now you do it kind of thing. It's just like, and it starts, making the science go faster.
Yeah.
Right.
So right now it's pretty easy for me to imagine that within a very short period of time, deduction, interpolation, extrapolation, those and iteration could be done. All four of those could easily all four of those are within the frame of expectation that's probably going to happen fairly quickly with enough compute. But there's that next level, which some people would suspect might be something only a human can do, but maybe it's really just a function of being able to interpolate and deduct, etc., faster, more time. So you get 1,000,000 years is only a second to the computer, and just by having that 1,000,000 years of human intellectual deduction, etc., you might get this breakthrough.
Right. And so that goes into, for people who've been studying AGI, artificial general intelligence, the Ray Kurzweils of the world and that kind of stuff. Then they go to, is it just super intelligence, beyond human, where it is just faster, just faster, where it's like, okay, 1,000,000 years and whatever it comes, or is it next level?
Yeah.
Where it's like, where it's like, where
insight.
chimps.
Could we use the word insight?
Insight, yeah. But basically where it's like monkeys to humans, right? Where it's like you give a monkey 1,000,000 years, it's still not gonna, did it come up with shapeshifter? You have to search and maybe, it randomly did something, right? But, human 1,000,000 years, different level, right? So if it's next level and it's faster, right? That's the level of super intelligence that we'd consider, right?
All right. So now let's bring it back home. Let's bring it back to Elon has, well, at least 3 companies, maybe 4 counting Neuralink, but certainly 3, well, 5 counting SpaceX. But I would say that in particular, Tesla, XAI, and X.com, those 3 for sure need this kind of massive compute and data storage. You need both, right? You can't, and then you need inference. So you need all 3, right, to make it work. Okay. So how do you have any theory about how this plays out between the 3 companies? If Tesla has the second or third largest compute capability in the world, and if X.AI has the first or second or third largest compute in the world, and then maybe X.com has the 10th largest amount of compute. Anyway, do they then, make an agreement, put together a plan, something that's going to allow that amount of compute to now be used by all 3 as necessary to take up the slow times or what do you think is going to happen?
So in terms of the collaboration between the different Elon companies,
Yeah.
we already heard like from the Walter Isaacson biography and from other, like I think or heard from Farzad, a YouTuber on Tesla who's used to work at Tesla, that there's the Elon companies are viewed as one. You can work at Tesla and they can also do a project at SpaceX. You can do something there and move all around. So that, no barriers between it. So if they have 100 exaflops over here in Tesla and 100 exaflops or 400 exaflops over there in XAI, then when there's a need, you will be able to shift your jobs around. But even beyond that, um, the um, I think second largest shareholder of Tesla is Larry Ellison of Oracle.
Okay.
One of the companies that's part making some of the XAI supercomputer is Oracle,
Right.
right? So not only is there no difference in a lot of collaboration between XAI X and Tesla and SpaceX, is that there's also collaboration with Oracle, one of the main shareholders, because they're buddies,
Yeah.
right? And also, it's like you have all Team Elon
Yes.
and Larry,
Yes.
and then they're going up against Microsoft, OpenAI,
Right.
and whoever else is on that team.
Right.
And then you have Meta,
Yeah.
Facebook, with all their companies and stuff like that, right? And
Yep.
they're stacking their stuff up. And they have Amazon with
Mhm.
all their stuff. They're building one of the largest large language models. So any organization, you're looking allies wherever you can because this is a massive arms race, right?
And
And
obviously,
so,
yeah, and
yeah.
obviously Elon has a really great relationship with Jensen, and he
Mhm.
apparently also has a really good relationship with Dell. So
Right.
does that are those those would be pretty good allies for this race as well, right?
Right. So there's all kinds of teams and allies, Chinese companies as well. Whenever the geopolitics, like if there's no geopolitics involved,
Yeah.
they would say, okay, yeah, come on in, let's do this. It's only because of the geopolitics that they're keeping it at a bit of arm's length, right?
Right.
But it's like whatever allies I can get because the prize is everything.
Everything.
So then it's like I need whoever I can get on my side,
Yeah.
right? Whoever's useful to me. And it's you don't necessarily always add by addition. By saying I'm going to have you, and it's kind of like, no, you are a moron. I don't want you with me. So you go help them. You go help the other team. You want them to slow them down. But wherever there's add a thing, I need more on my team because I'm, just like when you had the browser wars between
Right.
Google and Microsoft back in the day, and Netscape and whatever, or you have fight over search, Google versus Yahoo versus whatever, right? When you win it pretty much all,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's scraps for the other guy,
Right.
right? So that's how they're viewing it. And whoever I can get on my side who's useful,
Right.
I'm doing it.
Right. So, all right. So what I think this is the last kind of category question I have. You have people that are saying that the amount of compute is a big deal. The amount of data that you are able to gather together is a big deal. The amount of data centers that you have to process all of that is a big deal. Um, but then even those things, and even when that's still on your computer, your laptop, or your phone, that is first level. That the
Mhm.
real money is going to be in the apps, so to call, that use this stuff, and in particular in the embodied products like Robotaxi and Optimus. So what do you say about that?
So there's something that Sam Altman has said about the apps and that kind of thing, is that if you're just building your app right now on top of GPT-4, right? And it's doing something better with it, need some extra value. He's when you release the GPT-5, if your thing is just something incremental or something like that, you will probably get steamrolled. He
Yep.
said that those apps will get steamrolled, right? So the issue though is that as they go from GPT-4, GPT-5, GPT-6, GPT-10, and we go from Grok 1.5,
Right.
1.5 with vision, Grok 2, Grok 3, Grok 4. As we keep going up, each of those models, and then same with Amazon and all the other ones, that we're finding that, intelligence is just like, the I go to high school and I learn, you know, um, chemistry and physics or whatever, for grade 10.
Mhm.
And then if we were making an app during that year, and they're saying, okay, I'm going to make this app that can do this little thing better for you for math or for something
You
else,
mean like a calculator?
like a calculator or something like that, right? But then suddenly in grade 11, grade 12, you go next level and all this stuff goes up, and then I don't need that
Yeah.
device,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So where like I up level. So then the question is, do I have these borders of intelligence? Like, are you thinking big enough? Can you
Yeah.
project
Yeah.
where this is going
Right.
so that I add an application that the large language models can't handle, right? So for the large language models, the foundational models, and they're all constantly improving, the general theory right now is all the top competitors will all give away for free because Meta and the OpenAI have now gone to open source and give away to free.
Right.
But then they'll stomp on the application side of things, right?
Right.
So the application tries to get ahead, but if this thing is improving to super intelligence, then what's my app? Like, what is the thing that this thing next year, AGI, that is smarter than um, the best human in physics, the best human in chemistry, the best human in math, the best search thing, the best storyteller? What is this other thing that I'm adding onto it that's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
that's going to be useful, right? So that's the problem with the thing is moving so fast. It's kind of like, what's better? So it goes to the physical embodiment thing where if I have to stick it into a body, I'm entirely different. And then there's a physical layer because it has to be in something most of the time. Then you can have a sustainable moat and victory, right? Because if I have 100 million EVs, then yes, you have better software, but your software, just like right now, Apple has the power
Mhm.
and Samsung has the power because they say, okay, get onto the device.
Right.
Who Google pays Apple to get their search onto
On
the
the
device. They pay
device.
them like $20 billion a year, right? Meta had to pay and bend the knee because they had the application, the physical device gateway,
Right.
where we're carrying this around and that's how we're accessing it,
Right.
right? So if you own the gateway to utility, and so it could be a human bot, it could be an EV or something like that, then, or you own all smartphones, then even though the software is changing,
Mhm.
how the people come into it and pay their money
Right.
is what you're controlling. I control this doorway, this bridge
Right.
to the stuff. So you're fighting over there to make the best one, so like where I go to. But if I control the doorway, then that lets me win, right? So
So then once again, Elon Musk using verticality
mhm,
could end up being a winner at so many different levels. What do you
right.
think about the odds? I just asked this the other day of another computer science, whiz, Nicholas
Mhm.
Gibbs. I asked him the same question. I'm curious to hear your answer. Do you think that Tesla will shortly, I'm talking about, year, 18 months, whatever, be offering Dojo or something like Dojo as a service?
Yes, I do. Because right now, in terms of Dojo AI as a service, you have cloud, and then all the cloud is going to cloud AI. So the current leader is Amazon.
Mhm.
Number two is Microsoft. Number three is Google, right? And the lead that Amazon and Microsoft have over Google is substantial.
Substantially.
But they're all going to AI, roughly making say $80 billion, growing at 20% a year. $8 billion per year and going faster, $100 billion a year and that kind of stuff. And they're spending, a lot of money, say $50 billion a year. So they're spending a lot to have this thing convert to AI. So because XAI and X want scale, that if they're making they're putting $6 billion into a 100,000 B200 system, right?
Right.
If they're only using it for their own applications, if they fully utilize it, that's great. But they're not fully utilizing it, or they want to get to a system where it's like, I want to offer more and then occasionally use more and then use less, then this unused time, I want to make money on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I'm not making money on that, because Microsoft and Meta make money on, or sorry, Microsoft and Amazon make money
Right.
when they're not using their full cloud,
Right.
right? Then I'm at a disadvantage. I can, if I'm offering cloud services, I can be 2 times, 3 times, 4 times bigger,
Bigger. Yeah.
right? And I can lower my costs because I'm like, say, some of my capital, CapEx and OpEx, I'm making money off of it,
Yeah.
right? So there is a cost to that because I have to like build up
Yeah.
a marketing arm. I have to build up some other stuff so I can actually sell it, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, I build it and then I don't sell it and there's a cost. But it's the kind of thing where if they can make that transition, then that would help them financially in competition with two others that are already doing that.
And Nicholas thought that probably the deal with Dell might have to do more with the interface with that potential customer than it does with the actual supercomputer itself.
It certainly is possible. Like his speculation about that is possible. It's the kind of thing where we don't know because if you're inside of XAI or whatever like that, they could be right now they're in the race to catch up to OpenAI on that stuff. So having the distraction of, oh, by the way, and have 1/3 of the team also work on commercializing a cloud and launching a cloud service. It's like, let's just focus on catching up, right? And then the other part of it is that they have they're offering Grok and they're making money on that.
Yeah,
right? So they have a means to monetize, right?
Yeah.
So they don't have to have, the cloud AI part of it. But at some point, you could see, okay, we got all this handled, we're chugging along. Now we add this other group and then we monetize and do because the incremental costs won't be that. So it's more of a straight up business model decision.
Yeah.
Right. It's not about if you take away the AI part of it, it's just like how to monetize and then the staffing. It's a
Yeah. Do we have enough bandwidth to actually bandwidth and money to be able to go out and do this other thing at this point? Yeah.
Right. It's just like I have Walmart. Do I add the auto center to this thing? Right. Because I have the store, I got so it's a pretty much a straight up like MBA kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I think it makes sense that they do it. It makes sense it should happen in 12, 24 months, but it's not a deal breaker.
Right.
If they don't.
Right. So interesting. We have a power problem. There's a problem with getting enough power to make all this happen. We can build the computers and build the chips and build the data centers, but there's not going to be any more dams. And I got that straight from the mouth of Brian Wang. So we're going to talk about that. So next time, Brian, that's what we're going to tackle. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this.
Thank you.
And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.